Welcome everyone, Breakfast with Max. Thank you for joining us today. And I have a guest with me, the wonderful Kimberley Leite. Well, for me, it's light in my head. And that's, I don't know, it gives me something like German or yeah, in the pronunciation it will be German, but also light. But I think it's lit that is the correct pronunciation. But let's go to Kimberly and Kimberly, introduce yourself and first of all, welcome.
Well, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Kimberley Leite, and thank you for having me on, Max. So, I am a counselor. I am a spiritual ascension teacher. I am also a channel, also a language alchemist, and a Reiki therapist. So, yeah, I do a bit of everything. So I channel the ascension teachings, and I teach the ascension teachings. So, what is that? The ascension teachings are original esoteric teachings, and they are predominantly based on law of attraction and law of oneness. So it has a heavy emphasis on oneness teachings. So basically, it's a remembering process. So the teachings state that we are already enlightened beings, right? Because we are all God, we are source, we are just unique frequencies of source. So this awakening process, as many people call it, or the ascension process, is basically peeling back the layers. So we can think of us as an onion, so to speak, right? So we're just letting go of our conditions, our limiting beliefs, our rational fears, our traumas, and as you peel back the layers of the onion, so to speak, we remember who we are. Remember that we are God, that we are one, right? So that's the process. And so I basically, my journey started when I was an adolescent. I could always see angels, always connected with the angels. And then my teenage years, I was kind of like, get on with life sort of thing. But I always knew they were there. I could feel them. I remember, just feeling their love and just, crying because of the love, such a love that I felt. And then, things happened in my life that always brought me back into it. So, many of you who might be watching this, even though you have a calling, you might just kind of put it on the back burner a little bit, especially if you naturally had some abilities when you're younger. And, what happens is that certain events happen that always bring you back to it, whether it's a trauma or something else brings you back to it. So that's what happened to me. Kept bringing me back to it. I became a Reiki therapist, and then I kind of got on with life a little bit more, and then I went through a trauma, and that kind of ignited my passion to be a counsellor. So got my degree, got my postgrads in relationship therapy. And while I was practicing as a professional counselor, I discovered I could channel. I mean, I was very much into law of attraction. And, when my processes of counseling were taught in a human-centered approach, kind of, being in a clean slate, so to speak, you just connect with your clients, you don't think of what to say. And so I didn't realize at the time, but that's the process of channeling. So I was just there connecting with my clients, and then his information will come out and I'll be like, I didn't learn that in a textbook, And then just this information, his wisdom came through, and I'm like, that's not something I learned. And I discovered through my own understanding of law of attraction, and I came across other channels in that process, was that I was actually channeling. So I eventually I closed that chapter of doing, mainstream counseling, even though now in my practice, I do offer high dimensional therapy. And that is basically, it is a counseling session, but it's based on channeling. So many of you might be familiar with shadow work processes. And the ascension teachings that I teach is very much about that. So it's about not just thinking of the love and the light and the positive thoughts. It's about for us to transmute the inner darkness, for us to remember our God state and our love state. We need to kind of go into our multi-dimensions, which is our inner shadows. So our inner shadows are basically limiting beliefs we have about ourselves, that we have about others, about our reality. very much based on duality. So my background as a counsellor and a channel, I've actually created this modality called high dimensional therapy. So it basically starts off, I do a, like a light language meditation. It's a very deeply energetic activation for your DNA, helps you to go deep within your heart center. And then I basically, it's kind of like a counseling session, but the information is channeled. But they also have standalone, channeling sessions, higher self readings, light language sessions. So I do a range of different things basically. But it's my passion, and at the moment writing a book and other projects, courses, and all the rest. But yeah, it's
You're very busy.
showing my passion with you all.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I wanted to go back to something you said, is that you early on already felt this, let's say, calling, this that was there, and then going in and out in right on your path, and how was for you the realization, or how that this materialized for you of having the awareness of having these abilities?
Well, yeah. So when I was an adolescent, every night that just the angels would be with me very strongly. Like I remember when they first came to me, I don't know how old I was, maybe 13 or something like that. I remember for weeks I couldn't sleep because I would close my eyes and just pillars of light everywhere. And the feeling of such unconditional love, it was so intense. I remember going, I'm not worthy. I'm like, who am I to have this communication with the angels? So I was kind of going, because I wasn't like some religious person or some overly spiritual person. I was an adolescent, and all of a sudden I'm having these divine experiences. And they showed me some visions about me being kind of in danger or in fear. And the message was, it's okay. We're always there for you. You don't have to feel fear. You're always safe and secure. And it kind of instilled a message to me that I have a purpose, that there's something about me that is important, I guess. But I'm like, at that time, I was like, what do you mean I'm important? Like, I didn't know what that meant. And, but it's kind of like they were preparing me when I was adolescent that I'm going to do like important work, and don't worry about, fear. We're going to be there for you. So, as a teenager and everything, I kind of went out in the world, but I knew they were always there. And I always, drew on them when I needed their help. But what ultimately got me to the realization of my path is, I went through a really quite severe trauma. And after that trauma, I was in a pretty severe domestic violence relationship. It was many years ago. And after that event happened, or events, but after that completed, I was in a complete point of dissociation, numbness. And I was basically what I felt at the time was like an empty vessel. So I remember sitting outside, looking at the trees, like for hours, like there was nothing, like there was no connection. So I had to build myself up, and I went on to Louise L. Hay, You Can Heal Your Life, like law of attraction and all this kind of thing. And that really kind of helped to heal myself. Luckily at the time I was a Reiki therapist, so I did a lot of Reiki on myself. I kind of had to build myself up again. And in that process, obviously you change from something like that, but I became more empowered, I believe. And in that process, it birthed, that passion that I want to help others, especially women who have gone through similar things to me. So when I felt ready, and I felt very strongly this was my purpose, and I was like, okay, well, that's why I went through this. I have such a strong calling to be a counselor. I want to help other people, to empower them. So I had to wait obviously a period of time to completely heal myself, and then my counseling degree. And then I thought, okay, well, that it's, what I wanted to kind of work on was more originally domestic violence. I thought this is very intense work. So why don't I just do relationship therapy? because you're always working with kind of issues similar to that, but maybe not, you know, that kind of severe level, like mild forms. And anyway, so that was my passion at the time. So I did postgrads, and so yeah, during that time, as I mentioned previously, that's when I discovered I could channel. And then as I was channeling with mainstream clients, I kind of I fell out of love with mainstream counseling, because I could see that the information from channeling was much more powerful than sticking to certain, you know, modalities in a general, you know, counseling mainframe. Even though I was very holistic in nature, for me, being able to add my own style, for me being able to add some I had to kind of at the start disguise it a little bit, because I was not working. Firstly, it wasn't working for myself. I was working for this company called Lifeline. I don't know if you have Lifeline over there.
It
It's a
doesn't ring
worldwide
a bell.
organization. I don't know if you have it over there, but
Probably.
I was doing face-to-face counseling. It's kind of like a charity, but people for like mental health issues. So I used to see a lot of people with severe anxiety and depression. And I just found I had to kind of hide that I was channeling. You know what I mean? Because I was not at that moment,
Yeah.
it wasn't my company.
Well, that's
And
out of the mainstream, right? It's
yeah,
out of what is expected.
it was, but I kind of softened it a bit, the terminology and everything. And then I discovered, like, obviously from then I was like, I can't do this mainstream counseling anymore. I started my own business. Yeah, so I've kind of transformed, because originally I had my own private practice with advertised mainstream holistic counseling and Reiki. And then when I got more into the counseling, and I'm like, I can't do mainstream counseling anymore. I need to kind of put it out there. This is what I do. I had to close that chapter. And then I, you know, created Beings of the Light, and yeah, offer a range of modalities now. I really love working with the archangels. I do actually at the moment monthly in-person events in Sydney. It's just because the archangels, it's just the energy is so healing, and because I trance channel, so when I channel the beings, like there's an energy that comes through as well. But in saying that, I also channel like range of many different beings, because basically with the oneness teachings, they teach you that all non-physical beings are us. They're just unique versions of us, and everything is within us. The universe is within us. So basically, if you want to channel a certain being, it's already within you. So it's about, you know, also raising your belief. So because of that, I've been able to jump in group sessions. Never channeled a specific being before. I'm like, yep, I'm going to channel them. I have no idea if I can, and I can do it, just because I recognize that they are all within us. And it takes time. Like before, in my journey of integrating oneness, I would see the beings externally to me. Like I would see archangels sitting in front of me, kind of thing. But now that I've integrated more of these oneness teachings with the ascension teachings, I don't see that as much anymore, because they don't need to come externally to me, because they are within me. Everything is within me. We are source, right? So we're just tapping into a unique frequency within us. So yeah, I can channel, archangels, ETs, ascended masters, gods and goddesses, Gaia, source. Like there's basically been no being that I could not channel. So I haven't come across one yet that I cannot channel. But yeah, it's been a fun ride, interesting ride. And it's interesting that no matter who I channel, it's always a similar message, even though it might be at a slightly different angle, or they might be geared to a certain theme over other beings. It's ultimately the message that, you know, we are God creators, and everything that is happening to us in our reality is for us. We chose it pre-birth, that we are source, that we are God. We have just forgotten it. And as we do our shadow work, our inner soul work, our, you know, inner processes, by, you know, when we're triggered by negative emotion in the moment, and have a look at what is our belief around that. What is our limiting
thought? That's interesting. I remember I was watching a show on a awakening channel, and I remember listening to this guy saying that he was interviewing channelers, and that he was interested in the way the messages are conveyed, and that there were maybe that some could say that the messages were different, or that they were not just say. And that's interesting, because for me, I realize as well that the words, the way they are, these messages are conveyed, are certainly different, but that basically it's always the same message. The basic is always the same, and which is logic, because right, when you build that, there are many ways for saying the same thing. And um and I remember being there. Wow, this interesting, but I absolutely don't agree with that. Especially when, as you said, when you go and listen to different beings being channeled, and you pay attention to it, you always come around those messages, and they absolutely make sense. But also, right, the godness is always present. You're a god, you're a creator, and even if it's not said in this direct way, sometimes they take some detour, but it always lead there. Even, right, Bashar is not really saying these things in that way, at least as I remember it, but then it always leads there.
Mm. And, that's why there's, a number of us channels around the world, because not everyone's going to be attracted to to the teaching that comes through me, but someone might be, attracted to Bashar or someone else. So it's basically creating a network of information. So, a lot of people around the world will be drawn to different things. And also with that, with, different beings, and like, for instance, you can channel, for instance, the same being as someone else, but it's never going to be the same being, because just like us, all beings are multidimensional. So for instance, as an example, if someone is quite fear-based as a person, as a channel, maybe they naturally have the ability of channeling, they're going to channel a version of that being that matches that frequency, that vibration. So maybe that information will be a bit more fear-based, because that person who's a channel is more fear-based. So what that means is that all the information is unique, and it's always coming through our vibration, and I guess the teachings that come through me is a little bit different too, because I guess my background too is a counselor. So it's coming through my vibration, coming through my experience. Even though I've no control of what I'm saying, it's coming through my vibration, my frequency. And that, that frequency might be certain beliefs I have. It might be certain, multidimensional lives that I'm living, like that creates a unique vibration within me now. So there's a whole range of different things. So basically it's what you resonate with. Sometimes you might not resonate with certain channels, and some you do. So basically it's about not taking everything with take everything with a grain of salt, of course. Like, just because it's channel doesn't mean it's going to be best for your highest good. But then again, if you're listening to it, then there was something there for you, because it's law of attraction, right? So, but understand that you just follow what resonates with you. So if you listen to some information and it resonates with you, that's kind of like your higher self, your inner being. It's like that knowing is permeating to your conscious awareness, saying this is truth, this is for you. So basically use your own inner guidance, and you can't go wrong with that. And that's it. Like, whatever you're attracted to, that's for you. Even if but also if something triggers you, like you hear something and you maybe don't like it, but obviously that's also for you. And, with the ascension teachings, they teach that, something triggers you negatively, then it's showing you that you have a shadow that you haven't addressed. You have a limiting belief within you. You could be a limiting belief you have about yourself, or about someone else, about others, about your reality. So it's basically a soul test, so to speak. And it's about you, doing the practice, being in the present, acknowledging that this other person, for instance, is like a master teacher in disguise. It's like their higher self and your higher self is playing a role here to trigger one another, to assist you to awaken your consciousness, because we need triggers. And, our reality, our human reality is, even though we're oneness, we're living in a reality of duality. So because we see separation, and that is polarity. That's the nature of the universe. For source to experience itself, it creates polarity. It creates different dimensions. And so the fear is actually for us, but we don't have to suffer from it. That's the thing. And I know it might be hard to address the fear because we've been conditioned to, something negative comes up, maybe it's some trauma or something, we've been kind of conditioned to kind of suppress it and just think of the positive thoughts and everything. But I mean, you don't have to go through that process all the time, but if you're triggered by negative emotion, that's you being triggered by something that you haven't resolved yet within yourself. So it's actually for you. So you can actually change your relationship to fear and see it as a master teacher, see it as an expansion tool to assist you to remember more of your God self. So if you can kind of change your relationship to being triggered by fear, you'll be able to embrace more of life, because often we kind of don't do things out of fear. Like, we're fearful of the actual emotion of fear. You know, we might be guided to take action steps, but the fear stops us. So if you know that, if you feel fear, it's good, you can push past it, you know. And like with law of attraction, for instance, you know, as you do the shadow work, the inner processes, you become more sensitive to the inner guidance, right? But it also calls on you to take action. Something's just going to manifest in front of you. You are going to be guided for certain action steps, and often we don't take those steps out of fear. So it's about pushing past your comfort zone and taking action. And then as you do that, the universe, your higher self, gives you more clues, more information, more action steps, because it's then you're basically declaring to yourself and the universe that you are ready to remember who you are. So it's a combination of inner processes and taking action steps.
Yeah, there are instances, right, where I realize that since getting into this work completely, right, embracing it and allowing all of the relationship with all of this has completely changed. Well, from a teaching point of view, yes, but also as a personal way of relating to what is fear, to what is facing your fears, and the way of applying also this teaching to the self, right? And I noticed that when anything like that comes up, there is a process of quite right a truth process of seeing yourself in that situation, and then right, it's like I'm here as a human and I'm watching myself. Oh, I'm watching myself being fearful. Okay, so now what is that? All right, so then let's get into it, right? And building up that acceptance, that thing that then after a while you just realize, okay, it's fine. I'm fine. It's okay.
It is. And you can actually do it in the moment. I've done it in the moment. It takes practice. You can be in a situation where there's maybe a lot of fear coming at you from someone or something or a condition, right? And without saying a word, you can shift the whole situation, not even by you saying a word, just by you changing your perception, because they're a mirror to you, to your vibration. Everyone is a mirror to you. So this is like law of reflection. So for instance, if you're triggered by fear, for instance, if in a conversation with someone, then they are a mirror to your belief system. So something here that you're judging, that you're not loving about yourself or about others. So you might not be able to see what it is in the moment, but you can kind of be the observer, not even have to say a word, and just remind yourself that this person is your master teacher. This person is unconditional love, that you are unconditional love. They are giving you a soul lesson because you wanted to remember more of who you are, because you're ready for it's basically, reality is like a master game here. So we want this kind of little soul test, not because we deserve suffering. It's because we're so advanced. We wanted these kind of points of being triggered to catalyze us to remember who we are. So if you can, even in that moment, if you can just remind yourself that this person is playing a role for me, it's alerting me to a shadow that I have about myself that I haven't addressed, is a belief that I've adopted that's limiting. You can just say, this person is loved. In your mind, this person is love, this person is love. And then you might be able to find it in the moment, but just by you elevating your perception of that other person, you'll find the situation will just drop. It will just change because they are now mirroring your vibration, and that is love. If you can be in unconditional acceptance, which is a human version of unconditional love, that means that you are then starting to see your reality through the eyes of source, through the eyes of God. So the aim is to start experiencing your reality through the eyes of source, you know, and that is through unconditional love. So first is to be neutral, and neutrality is acceptance, right? But acceptance also a love felt emotion for us humans, right? So if you can be unconditionally accepting, even if you do not agree with certain behaviors, if you can accept it, it releases the fear and the resistance for you to see the lesson there, right? And then from there, if you can, in the moment, you can elevate that to even gratitude. Oh, you can be grateful for this interaction because it's shining light on something that I need to address. That it's no one's fault. It's just playing this role for one another. So it's kind of, it takes practice, of course. And, you know, for instance, like journaling might be helpful in the first instance, but you'll get to a point where you can do it in the moment and you can change the conditions by you not saying a word, just by changing your perspective in the moment.
And for me, what you just said is one of the, let's say, most powerful way of releasing these traumas, especially personal and in the past, when you are able to get to the point, and as you say, it's not something that we may be able to do instantly or right now. It takes practice, but coming to the point where you can say, all right, my mother, my father, my sister, my friend, my wife, husband, ex, whatever, they were playing a role for me, and so that I could see something inside of me, so that I could work on something, or so that something happened, a human experience. And in from a, let's say, higher, but from another perspective, this is a role that we are playing for each other. All right, now I see that. So the human experience is still valid. It did happen, right? We are not discounting it. But at the same time, these beings were not doing it out of hatred or payback, vengeance, or whatever. We had something in a past life, and now it's the payback, right? No, they're not doing it for that. It's that we are playing our roles. Wow.
It is. And like, for instance, even, you know, example for me, what I went through, I can look back and be grateful that I was nearly killed. You know, I'm grateful for that experience. I know it might not be, not everybody be able to do that, I understand, but because I've done so much processing, I can look back now and 100% I'm grateful for that experience, because if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have been catalyzed to such a point where I have to go inwards. I was forced to go in. I was forced to really heal myself, to really fill myself up with that light again, which was diminished. So it led me to a deeper understanding of law of attraction and the world of the mystical. And it led me to become a counselor, to know that I can channel, to know that my purpose is to empower others. Right? So if I had not gone through that, I wouldn't be led here today. So 100% I know as part of my soul contracts, pre-birth intentions, and I know that I pre-planned it pre-birth. So it's all good. Like, I have no resentment or nothing. I understand for many people it's challenging, and it takes processes to do that. I understand that. So it's not always like easy like that overnight. It's because where I'm in my journey, and this event happened many years ago, and I've done so much processing and understanding. not just in the psychological world through my counseling, but also through the, the mystical, the non-physical understandings of things, where I can be thankful that it led me to my soul purpose. And, that's very common for people to have a call to assist others. You'll find that a lot of people have had something happen in their past, right? You might have heard the term of a wounded healer. So for instance, just to get an idea, basically nearly all of the people I did my counseling training with, a lot of them had a trauma in their life, or someone close to them experienced a trauma, right? So because of that catalyzation, it kind of instigated this kind of this calling that now I need to help others, right? So it's the common thing that happens. And you've heard the term, light worker before. So often light workers who have a calling to empower others, it doesn't have to be as a counselor or a channel. It can be a school teacher empowering kids. It could be anything, right? But if you have a calling to empower others, you're a light worker. And a lot of that times that calling could have been activated through a trauma. Maybe not everyone goes through that. But if you are watching this and you have experienced something, then it is for you, right? And if you're in the middle of processing it, understand that you might not be able to see this now, because obviously when you're in the middle of it, you can't, it's hard for you to see a higher perspective. That's understandable. But, as you heal yourself, as you recognize that you are love, that all others are love, that, that there are no victims, even though, yes, in a 3D reality, that role of victim mentality is still there, and it allows us to experience contrast, but in a higher understanding, in the higher truth of oneness of who we are God creators, and we chose to explore certain events pre-birth, right? And with our soul families. So for instance, in one life you might be my mother, in another life my father or a friend, and so forth, and and usually we have similar soul families, and in different lives they change roles, but they do it out of love. So if someone who is a persecutor, for instance, in one of your lives, they do this role out of love for you, even though their conscious human self may not be aware of this, right? It's really, it takes time to get to certain understandings if you yourself has gone through something. But even if you cannot see why it's happening for you, understand that there's a purpose behind it. And no, you didn't do anything wrong, because there can be this, conception that if something bad happens to you, that, I used law of attraction wrong, or it was my fault. No, it's not your fault. We choose certain themes within our life pre-birth. So if something happens in your reality, it is for you. You didn't do anything wrong. It just shows you that you are a highly, highly advanced being, and you chose a high level of spiritual amnesia. You're right. You wanted to experience the density in the darkness, because who you are is source energy. So it just, if you are able to embody that and heal it and grow from it, it creates kind of like this, it's like a big bang within you, like the big bang of the universe. It creates a ripple effect within you, and it really activates your soul purpose and your abilities to empower not only yourself, but to empower others, right? So anything that's quite traumatic that you've experienced, you can use that to actually empower your life. And also by using that to empower others, you will find you also continue to heal yourself. So it can be hard to understand from a third dimensional perspective, like, black or white, fear and love. But we are multidimensional, and yes, we have been living a 3D reality, but now we're moving away from that as a collective, but we're still attaching to those stories of fear. So it's really about surrendering to your emotions. Don't ignore your emotions. If you've experienced trauma, more than likely it's been resurfaced over the last couple of years. That's what's been happening for the collective. Basically all our repressed traumas and inner shadows that we've ignored have actually been forced to come to the surface for us to address. So more than likely you're already aware of this. You don't have to continue to process it if you're not triggered, but if you're triggered by negative emotion, that's a sign to you that you need to process that in the moment. And but also importantly, you need to balance that with passion, with joy, because end of the day, you could process from all your life, process from all your multidimensional lives. You can then process for everybody that's living here. You can process for all that is, and you'll never stop processing, right? So it's about only processing what comes up for you in the moment, and then also follow your passion, follow your joy, and that have that balance. So if it's a hobby, something that brings you joy, be silly, be a kid, you know, something that brings you joy, that innocence, the playfulness. Because yes, reality can seem like it's very serious. What's really happening is a game here, and not supposed to be serious, although we feel it as something very serious. So if you can balance it out with something light, fun, just do something that, you know, follow your joy, in other words, follow your bliss. So
Yes.
and
It
push
makes
past
me
the
think.
fear though to do that.
Yeah, it makes me think of, right, drama queens. We're often drama queens with what is happening to ourselves. Right? We start building it up and making it out of proportions, and it becomes very often like a question of death of life, or something. And then when you confront the situation where you are, and it just goes smoothly. It reveals to be quite nothing, right? And we were thinking, it's the end of the world, and wow, the world is still there. It's yeah. We have that tendency, absolutely. And I discovered, I was seeing myself the other day, and I had I call them the angelics coming in and said, yeah, sometimes you're very boring, you're very serious. Come out that thing, right? It's not that serious, really, and fun. And true, it's true, because at the same time I know that, right, we can be very, very funny, and honestly, when I see myself, uh, I am funny, because things happen in such a funny way. And then, right, be able to also to laugh at yourself, right, because sometimes it's just that it is fun and it is okay. And I mean, right, I can go in a tantrum because I just let fall something on the floor, and I say, well, it's just something on the floor, having an experience of being on the floor.
Yeah.
And you get mad for that,
But
right?
often what happens is that a lot of people on this journey then kind of judge themselves, which is very, very common. Like you might have anger and you're like, oh, I shouldn't do that. I'm wrong and I shouldn't do that. And then it's like shame, you know? And it's very common in our society that the emotions of anger is wrong, right? So if you have a burst of anger, you might have this unconditional belief of it's wrong to have anger, and then you shame yourself and then you judge yourself. So really in this reality, it's about understanding that all emotions are valid. So if you're angry, good. If you're sad, good. If you're happy, good. Because on the reverse, some people might feel guilty to be happy, right? So because they maybe look at other people around them and then they go, who am I to be so happy? And I have this kind of guilt come over them. So basically, we are multidimensional beings. So, you know, with our emotions, we create our dimensional experience. So, and of course, what creates our emotions is our thoughts and belief. So basically, for instance, if you're in a vibration of, let's just say, like, I don't know, jealousy, let's just say it's a frequency of fear, right? So then if you are aligned to that frequency of jealousy, right, which is under the umbrella of fear, just imagine that you're in this bubble and then all your reality is filled with, just say, green, right? So all your reality then is colored by this green. So you attract experiences, people say certain things that reflects this frequency, right? It's multidimensional. And then if you can kind of transmute that and be in a state of gratitude, let's just say, then you are vibrating in a reality that's, say, yellow as an example. And then everything in your reality will reflect that. So people might be nicer to you. You have certain conditions that are very pleasing for you, be attracted to you. So basically we're God creators through the multidimensional nature of our reality, because there are many parallel realities that are happening in the one time, and we attract them into conscious awareness. But for you. So basically emotions are technologies we create through our emotions, but to be able to create through your emotions, it's about being aware of your thoughts and your beliefs, because that's the precursor to your emotions, right? So it's you can be in a state of conscious creation here, but also understand there comes a time where, you know, even you might be into like manifesting, there's a point where we can be too much in control. So it's about really aligning to your emotion and letting go of attachments of specifics, because depending on our level of self-worth, we might like, oh, I want to manifest this kind of condition. But what if the universe has something even greater for you? But because your level of self-worth, you can only think you're capable of here. So it's better to like take that bar away and just, if you want to manifest, focus on the love, focus on changing your perceptions and your frequency, the excitement and the joy, to see everything in a high emotional perspective, right? And then with that, you'll attract into your reality conditions that is for your highest good. And if something that comes along that maybe you don't prefer, it's also for you as well. So, you know, and that allows you to live more freely in reality, not thinking, okay, something bad happened to me, so I must not be manifesting properly, I did something wrong, it's my fault. No, understand that the universe has big plans for you, but you are universe, you are God, right? So it's really about letting go of control as well. Yes, manifest on your emotion, using your emotional technologies and your perspectives, but also let go of attachments of what things should look like in your reality. I didn't know I was going to be a channel. You know what I mean? If I was to be like, oh, I have to do this, I would limit the universe working through me. So it's sometimes hard because we've been conditioned to really control our reality, right? And big part of that is with law of attraction. And with law of attraction, you can actually really control your reality, but it's actually about letting go of control. So it takes time. But also, by you letting go of control, it does not mean you become this, I don't know, some people might think that you become like this passive doormat or something. Like if you're loving acceptance of everything, that I'll let everything happen to me, it's bad, and not use my voice. That's not the thing. Because what happens, if you're in alignment of loving acceptance, your alignment to your true powerful self, your divine self, and then you will receive guidance on action steps. So perhaps it might be saying certain things, taking action steps, taking yourself out of situations. So it's, if you want to have an action step that's best aligned to your empowered self in this reality, then if you can let go of the resistance, let go of control, you'll be guided which step to take, basically.
Yeah, and that's true. There isn't a. It's not like you can go to school and become a channeler, right, this kind of things. It's what fascinates me is that it's much more on you, your own history, your what you bring to the table that leads you to this. It's yes, you can have degrees, you can have all the skills that comes in, but the basic, the thing that you bring in there, it's absolutely 100% you, your experiences of multidimensional being, with so many lifetimes and so many things, human experience and non-human experiences. Wow. And there you are, this being that suddenly is shining a light and sharing it and offering it, right, as we basically do. And you just are it without quite realizing it, right? Because it simply becomes simply. I realized for myself how, when I aligned with this and put myself in, let's say, the choice, but then it's not a choice anymore, it's just a state of being. How the way I feel about being confronted with other beings and being able to share something with these beings, and in the idea that the human being is looking for something that is difficult to find because it's always a looking outside of the self, and then you're there and you say, okay, I'll be the one that point the finger to something else, let's say, and you realize that, oh, when I align with that, I feel so complete. I feel so good. I feel that that is so right that it becomes just, you realize that that is it. Because I never feel that way with anything else. This is what makes me feel really, really 100% me.
That's it. And you can't do any wrong. So, you know, that our perceptions of the right things to do and the wrong things to do, that's all, you know, conditions in our society. So just do what makes you feel good and trust in your own abilities, because we're gods, you know, we're source, we're unique frequencies of source. And, you know, even if you might not have much experience, let's just say in this reality, all the lives you are living, that experiences is being actually filtered through in your current reality now. So you might think, who am I to do something? I don't have the wisdom, you know, I don't have the abilities. But if you raise your frequency, right, by doing the processes, by changing your perspectives, by doing the action steps, you basically have a key and you unlock your divine blueprint, which is like our spiritual mainframe is in our heart center, and you'll actually activate more of your abilities. So yes, you can call them, you know, psychic, intuitive abilities, the clarity of your life purpose. This all becomes unlocked into your conscious awareness when you're ready vibrationally. So if you want to have all this wisdom for yourself, if you want to enhance your abilities and your gifts, you don't have to really learn something unless you're guided to do so. But by you raising your frequency, you automatically unlock it within you. You'll receive a knowing, right? A lot of the times we disregard it, you know, our intuitive sense. You're like, oh, it doesn't make sense, or I don't think I'm worthy, so you disregard it. As you fine tune yourself doing these processes, you become more energetically sensitive. So universe is guiding you every step of the way. It could be the beings of light, you know, could be anyone, could be even you in our future reality. And I experience this sometimes when I receive messages from a future self of me. So, you know, you can receive messages from you, from whatever you want to put a label on. End of the day, you are the universe and you're a source. So you can't do any wrong. You just, you know, just know that if you have an inspiration, a thought come to you, this is a message. You know, you don't create your thoughts, you attract them. So for instance, if you get a message, a thought, oh, to do something, you might go, oh, that's me being silly. That's me daydreaming, and disregard it. If you can take action in that, even if you takes you out of your comfort zone, you are declaring to the universe that you are ready to remember more of who you are. So if you don't take those action steps, you're not going to receive those. You're not going to receive the steps, right, to reveal to you who you are. So it takes, you know, courage, and it asks you to actually take action. You can't just do your processes and wish everything to happen. You actually need to take action steps. But you'll be able to receive the guidance, and sometimes it requires patience, because, you know, a lot of the time we want everything to happen right here and now, like everything to happen right now, you know, manifest $1 million on the table, you know, but it takes, you know, our higher selves may not want that. So it's really about trusting the process. There is no race, right? One step at a time. Don't go 100 steps ahead, because you are not at that vibration to be in the 100 steps ahead dimension. So do what is in your present now. By being in the present moment, you are aware of the guidance. And sometimes it's very subtle. You know, I often get my guidance, obviously, when I do my meditations, but it can be times when my mind is still. For instance, when I'm like brushing my teeth, washing the dishes, I get a lot of guidance. I don't know why, but often when I'm brushing my teeth, and I'm like, oh, and I'm getting this message. I'm getting like this vision come to me. I'm like, okay. So if you can be in the present moment, that's when you have more clarity on the messages. and understand that your imagination is not your imagination. You are seeing dimensions. So if you see something, understand that's a message to you. It does not mean it's going to manifest exactly in a certain way. It just means it's a message for you to head in a certain direction. So understand that we are always receiving stimulus in our environment, and they're all messages for us. So we can choose not to take action steps. But, you know, if you really want to manifest, you know, more of who you are and to really boldly step into more of your purpose, because those of you watching this, you are very much likely light workers. Of course, you have a choice to not do anything, but I'm sure a lot of you want to really embrace more of your divinity in this reality. So it will call on you to be uncomfortable, right? So it'll call on you to push past the fear. So if you can increase your level of self-worth, self-love, know that you're a source and that you're one, know that you're always supported, it'll assist you in taking that action step when you're guided in the moment.
Yeah, and if any of you listening to this, you are wondering, am I or am I not? What does it mean? So sometimes you may not be even conscious of doing a light work, right? It can be also, and many of us, we do a lot of light work as we are asleep, whereas we are not aware of anything. So that you certainly are, and you do not need to have the awareness of it, right? If you need to have the awareness, that awareness will come to you. If you need to be in any state, that is what you will have. So don't worry if you have doubts or if you cannot really see yourself in that state, or doing anything. You are, certainly you are, and that's all you need to know, or in this moment at least. And then if that has to change, it will change. Right? But I wanted to now to go into another direction. And explore. I wanted to ask you, which are the beings that you are working the most? You mentioned the archangels, but that you are also channeling other beings. But there are certainly some beings that are more present with you, that you have more coming through in your sessions, in your live sessions.
Yeah, so basically what happens with my, and you can see this on my YouTube channel. For the public group sessions, I use Patreon. So basically what I do is that I basically ask the beings of the light who wishes to come through for this month's, group channeling. And I usually have a list of like 5 beings, and I'm guided. And then I get actually Patreon members, they actually vote for who wants to come through. So they're the ones that come through. And then I have a School of Light class, and very much these beings that I ask who wants to come through, and there's no voting on this one. They're very much kind of come around like the mystery schools of like ancient Egypt. So with our School of Light classes, which is not released publicly, but a lot of those beings is very much, like Goddess Isis, Thoth, Osiris, also got, ETs like Palladians, Ra. I'm channeling Mut tomorrow, Hathors and things like beings like that. But it changes. It's I don't know. I find that it's a good to have a variety. I don't know, like it's just fun. And to be honest, I enjoy channeling because I channel like their personalities as well. I also channel, like I can channel, even though you cannot channel the limitless nature of source, because source is limitless, I can tap into pure source consciousness, but there's no personality there. Even though it's very, heightened wisdom and information, I enjoy channeling more dualistic beings because I enjoy the personality that comes through. Every month, though, I do channel Ascended Master Lakeshma. She was actually my mum in Atlantis. So she's Ascended Master from Atlantis in time of the First Great Awakening. So I do channel her every month. So I guess you can say I regularly channel her. And there's a lot of parallels of what's happening with our current awakening of consciousness to what happened in Atlantis. So she comes through teachings, which she calls the New Earth teachings. And interestingly, I'm also writing a book about that, and I was actually her daughter in that time of Atlantis. So again, I'm I'm doing the ascension teachings like I did in Atlantis, the keeper of the esoteric teachings back then. So, well, back then, even though it's happening parallel to here. But you will find that, you know, a lot of guides, you are connected to them. But yeah, I don't have a preference. I do channel her every month. If you've seen the Lakeshma sessions, channeling the New Earth teachings, a lot of the time her personality comes through, lots of humor. But also I love channeling the archangels. And like I mentioned previously, if you're in Sydney, I do in-person group events and I channel the archangels. And for the in-person events, yes, I 100% prefer archangels, just because it's the energy that comes through. It's very pure. I mean, all beings are pure. It's just that their energy, when I channel them, has a very deeply healing presence, right? Very caring presence and very lightning presence. And I've always had an affinity with the angels, because ever since, I was like, I don't know, like 13 years old, I've been connected with the angels. So I have a special relationship with them. However, like in the group sessions, it's basically up to my members that they actually vote, but they use their guidance. So it doesn't really matter who comes through at the end of the day. But in private sessions, it's different. In private sessions, they can ask me to channel a being, but I usually ask who wishes to come through for this person. And the being that usually comes through is one of their, spirit guides or someone that's working with them at the forefront. So it's, I like a variety, sometimes I go through stages where I prefer just solely archangels, but I like the variety of channeling, the ETs, just because their perspective on things is very interesting. Gods and goddesses, ascended masters, and I like a variety. There's no really preference, but definitely I have a special connection with the archangels for sure.
Yeah, I've seen your I don't know if it's the last one or that you posted with the blue avians.
Yes.
Was absolutely amazing. Oh yeah, well, I mean, absolutely. It's for me. It's always such a pleasure to see you and connect with you. And I think you're doing amazing work. And right, it's so pleasant. And when one connects with you and sees you, that there is such a kindness and it's such a joy. But also, I feel this quiet certainty and presence that I will quite say motherly presence. It's like, it's okay, I'm here.
Oh,
Everything is okay. And when one listens to you, the way you use your harmonics in your voice, it's convey that message, right? It's beneath what you're saying, that there is that soothing, that thing that is simply, right, I'm here. It's okay.
It is.
And yes, and that makes it so wonderful to be able to connect with you and exchange with you, and I think for everyone that has the joy and the opportunity to work with you, I think that is simply right. Where you make the difference, right? Where you are able to bring someone and give them what they need, what their need is in that moment. And as I was watching that, it's so it's simply the right thing in the moment. And I realized, watch this and learn. And it's yes, that's it. But I wanted to ask you, about your book. It's something that you are in the process of writing. Are you advanced with it? You have already a date or?
No, so it's not completed yet. I'm actually waiting to hear back from a publisher. So yeah, it's not completed yet. I'm hoping
Right.
I had guidance that this particular book. So I've got a few books lined up. The first one isn't channeled. It's for light workers, to raise their frequency, to move from fear, to love, because the last couple years I do recognize that there's been a lot of light workers or people who have a calling to assist others that become stagnant, and they've, because of the purging, right? Because of a lot of our limiting beliefs that has been come up to the surface, a lot of people are kind of stuck and they don't have maybe the tools to dissolve that, to transmute that. And at the same time, they're in that fear, all around the world. If you have a calling to assist others, I'm sure at the moment it's getting quite strong, because worldwide it's like, this little light within us is like beep beep beep, time to take action, guys. So anyway, basically it's a combination of just the ascension teachings and what I've learned along the way, as a counselor too, and the sort of empowering messages. It's kind of works like an oracle too. But yeah, in divine time. I'm also, writing a channel book with Lakeshma about the new earth and how it can assist us here in this reality. So yeah, a lot of projects. I've also got a course coming up too, a School of Light course. And again, this is a lot of affiliation to the ancient mystery schools. And actually Goddess Isis has called it a new era mystery school. So it uses the light language to sound alchemy. So that's an ability that I have. Channeled codes, channeled light language sounds. It kind of sounds like me toning. It can sometimes sound like a different language, but it's a deeply activation, helps to activate your dormant DNA, significantly increase your vibration. I describe it as meditation on steroids, basically. And and a lot of mystery schools use this too back in the day. But so that'll be a channeled course through Isis, and but that's coming out also in divine time. So basically the whole control thing, it's like what can happen is that they start you on a project and then they guide you just do another project. So that's how they work with me. Nothing is linear with me. They make me start a project and then they're like, okay, put that on pause. I want you to start another project and then another project. So yeah, I've got my hand in a few different things at the moment, but all in divine time. There's a reason if things don't manifest or completed at a certain stage, it's the divine time in all things. At the moment, I'm enjoying doing, the panelists like the Ascension Roundtable, which I do with Max and others, and I've got my in-person events. I've got, online group sessions that you can all participate in. And at the moment, and then, soon I'll have one of my books out and a course you can do. So yeah, all in divine time. Having fun along the way.
We have to pay attention to be connected and watch out for when that is can be purchased, and because it will. I'm sure that soon enough we will have news about that. And and I have to say, yes, the roundtables, when you do your attunement and language of light, it's simply something. I love it. It's so powerful, and so it enters, it makes you really feel strong. It's well, everyone will have their own reaction, that they will feel it their way, their perception. Obviously that is mine. Yeah, I love it. And right, so let's, and by the way, every information that about Kimberly will put in the comment section, in the information section of the video. So you will be able to go and follow Kimberly and her work, and maybe discover it. just one last thing that I wanted to ask you is about Australia, because you are located in Australia, and how is it for you being right? Because it's this island, that continent island, that is a little bit apart but still part of everything, and a amazing place, obviously, also so fascinating. But right, it's like, because in my experience I have a lot to do with the United States, and less in the East.
Yeah. Well, have you been to Australia before?
Not in this lab.
No. Well, it's a beautiful country, those of you visited. But yes, we are what you call as down under. But yeah, no, it's, because my work is worldwide, so all my sessions are all online. Apart from the in-person group events, I do like online worldwide events. So that allows me to connect like with you, Max, with all my friends all around the world. So it's like a network, right? So like you're in Europe and there's people all around the world. Yes, there is a large population of doing this work. It's in America, but there's, channels and light workers, all around the world. But yeah, living in Australia is amazing. We're like back to front with the weather. Like now it's very cold, but not as cold as it gets for you guys when you guys go in winter, because it doesn't snow here. So even though our cold is like probably nothing for you, it's probably like your spring or something. But anyway, no, but it's yeah, living in Australia, I guess culturally wise, everyone like traditionally there's kind of like a no worries mate, like a, like she'll be right, like kind of like it's kind of like this laid back vibe, so it might be very different to different cultures. It's I don't know, we have fun here, and don't take life too seriously here, I guess. We're a nation mostly, situated around the coast of Australia. Like middle of Australia does not like it's not that populated, like, in the middle of Australia. So we're kind of a beach country, so yeah, it's lots of nature, beautiful nature here. We've got, the earth chakra, we've got Uluru, lots of powerful energy here. Of course, we've got, First Nations people, which is the oldest continuous cultures in the world, which is the Aboriginal people. So we have a lot of ancient wisdom here, and it's just, I love it. I wouldn't live anywhere else, to be honest. Like, it's amazing. If you ever get a chance to visit us down here, and of course when our borders are closed at the moment for international travel, but when they do, definitely come to one of my events in Sydney.
Oh well, it was not a innocent question. But we definitely the idea of the round table united around a real table.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, so as I was saying before, every information you will be able to connect with Kimberley. I'll put all the information in the description of this video, and so now, thank you, Kimberley, for joining us for this discussion. It's absolutely a pleasure to have you here with us. Yes.
Thank you.
It's such a joy. And so next, thank you to everyone joining us, watching us, listening to us in any moment in time. It's still now. And to all our guides, beings, and ED that we know join in and watch us. Thank you for joining as well, because we know that everyone is watching, right? In history, and we are always connected. And so thank you to everyone, a lot of love, and Kimberley, please.
Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this, and thank you for having me on, Max. It's a pleasure, as always.
So we will see you the next time, and a lot of love to all of you.